that you will get everything that you need today. If you get overwhelmed at any point and are finding some ideas flowing in your journaling or anything like that, feel free to turn off your screen. For some of us, seeing the sea of people, that energizes me. I have more of an extrovert energy that energizes me. But there are some of us that this is too much, and you're not able to partake as well in the conversation if you're not able to slow down and focus. So feel free to turn off your screen. Feel free, like if this energizes some ideas in you, you just need to go take this time by yourself. Watch the recording later. Honor what comes up for you here today. I have a really guided way I want to walk through this. Um, and I want all of us to know each other's first names, and do make sure that you have your name in yeah, everybody's name is right now that we helped Lib change from her daughter's name. Um, but say our name and the role in our business, and that's it. We don't have time for more. This is not a networking opportunity, but it will be because you will get to know each other in such a great way. So I'm Diana Murphy, and I am a coach for people like yourselves. I love high achievers and business owners. And I'll just call on you so it goes fast. Arlia,
I'm Arlia Hoffman. I'm a coach and podcast producer with Women's Agency.
Pam,
Pam Alvord. I am a fractional chief marketing officer for a safety consulting company.
Lib,
I'm Lib Avashan, and I'm a copywriter for Women Entrepreneurs Ready to Scale.
Anita,
Anita Henderson, the author's midwife, CEO founder with Write Your Life. I help smart business owners write, publish, and leverage their books.
Morley,
Morley. I'm the owner of Amira Natural Skincare.
Abby,
Abby, principal of Abby England Wellness, podcast host and author.
awesome. Kiana,
Good morning. I am Kiana. I am a videographer. I help women build their wellness through educational content.
and Helen.
Helen, I am a former educator, 25 years, and CEO founder of a K through 12 tutoring SAT ACT prep company.
Great. Keisha, can you introduce yourself and the role in your business?
Certainly. Hi, my name is Keisha Bickham, and I am the CEO of Willy Walk Ventures, and it's a private wealth and executive coaching firm. And I retired from almost 15 years in the healthcare industry.
Great. Jess,
Hi, I'm Jess Pfeffer, founder of Jess Pfeffer Holistic Event Planning. I teach yoga, I host and plan wellness events, and I consult for wellness brands.
Fatima, all right. Fatima might not be able to come off mute. Fatima, I know from the lowland, she's an esthetician. And are you here? Can you talk? Nope. Okay. I want everybody to feel seen, heard, and part of this conversation. This might feel like a large group, but who you're sitting with are all of us own businesses. That's so cool. And some I know from the Lola, some have moved from corporate and are doing very new ventures. But we have anywhere from that first year. There's three of us that are in that early phase. There's some right in the middle, and others that I'm like so proud. I'm almost in my 11th year anniversary, and Anita, feel like a veteran, but always feel like it's new every year. Damn it. I really, really do. What I want to do next is give you an opportunity to own right where you are today. So in the chat or out loud, we can all leave our mics open. I want this to feel like a boardroom table, and know that we'll honor as other people talk. And if you're in a noisy background, I sure understand if you have to mute. But let's just pop out and make sure we honor where we are right now. And I will tell you that I have some anxiousness. but I also am so grounded and in such a grounded vibrance is how I'm feeling right now. Anybody else? 2 or 3 word check-in. You can cheat. I did. I had 3. How are you feeling?
Satisfied and grateful and hopeful.
Oh, don't be bashful.
I'm excited and uneasy.
Okay. Healing emotionally and physically. Yeah, Morley, I heard the voice. And Jess, you sound like you have something respiratory going on as well. So just deep breath around healing. Anybody else want to share?
I would say joyful. I love the holiday season.
Awesome. Bring it. Yeah. Jess, hoping it's the last day of this damn thing. Yes. Let me close my participant window so I can see the chat. Honoring one of the things that was part of my transformation was honoring everything that is here with me emotionally as I would make big decisions. When I learned that I could honor or be aware that I'm really worried about something and honor whatever thought that was coming from, I could, instead of ignoring it and trying to push it away to feel confident, that when I was present with all the emotions that were coming up as a new entrepreneur, I that is when growth happened. I was able to take more action. And that is why I always start with this exercise. I do it even in my events, my breakfasts and stuff, because I don't think we've been taught, and I want to teach everyone I know that honoring nervousness or fear, we don't have to ignore it to move forward into motivation. We don't have to quell the negative to have positive. We can let both exist at the same time and make decisions from the good energy. And that is why I want you to, kind of allow whatever comes up during this experience, whatever happens, take notes of things thoughts that come up. Like, there could be FOMO when somebody else shares something that they're doing. When honor your real experience here. And when we have questions at the end, or there's a pause or perfect time to share, please let me know where you're at today. We are going to start with you taking some time, and if you need to turn off your camera, please do. I will, when you come back on camera, I'm going to give you about 10 minutes. This may be shorter than you need to, so I will be following up with the entire worksheet so that you can dig in more if you'd like to. But right now, I would love for you to give yourself permission to dream and vision about what you would like it to look like in 2025. A year from now, you're sitting at my year-end workshop again. And what is really happening right now in your relationships, in your health, in everything that is coming up for you today? What would you love to see? And I'm going to copy and paste these other questions, but I want you to just stay really present with me. This is deciding what any regular Tuesday looks like. This is what do you really love and want in your business, in your relationships? What is coming up for you as a true desire, giving yourself to dream and hope about what this whole year is going to look like? What do you want to be creating? So I'm going to give you about, let's see, till 10:25. But if you need more time, just raise your hand and let me know to pause. And I will just look at the screen and notice when people are looking up. And I am going to go get my journal and play along with you because this is fun. All right. If some are still working, go ahead, don't stop. But for those that are back and took some time to do that, what are you noticing about just what happened in those just few minutes? What came up?
For me, it was priority, like what is really important.
Yeah. Did you notice a difference in like whether a part of your life was more important, like something was really getting your attention in that prioritization?
Not necessarily. It was more of a prioritization from a appreciation standpoint of I have two kids that were going to be empty nesters next year, and so
Mm.
our life's going to shift a lot in
Yeah.
2025. So it was really um, the priority and appreciation of the time we have left with our kids in the house, and then what's next, and the appreciation of how open and free it is to define that.
God, the gratitude I hear in your the way
Mhm.
you're speaking of it is really gorgeous. And I think of where I know when I empty nested, I was in a group that the way that women were handling it, this is before I became a coach, was very like, this is going to be horrible or this is going to be hard, or a lot of energy that and without the focus, what I heard in your is like preparing like for the transition, like giving that space, giving that a lot of gorgeous attention. And I think that that is a way that all of us can transition a little better to things that can be difficult or have grief to them or big changes in our lives. So just, I love your reflection there. Thank you. Anybody else? What did you notice giving yourself permission to kind of vision about what you create this year?
For me, it was really interesting because I realized as I was writing things down that I set a path for myself in my early 20s, both professionally and personally. And in the last year, a lot of that has changed on both sides. And I've just, well, I'm really proud of the work I've done this year. I feel like I've let life happen to me. And the idea of resetting what I want my life to be, not having looked at it since my early 20s in any holistic sense, kind of struck me.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I've chipped around the edges of it in the last year in a way that I hadn't, but to really sit down and say, hey, what does all of this start to look like?
Yeah. Yeah. Giving yourself permission to not be in reactive mode of things that have been put in place, but to be, like what Keisha was sharing, a very intentional look at this next phase. Oh, Keisha, I love your share. I love connecting to my younger self. Sorry, my screen's before I knew any better. That boldness and optimism that really is still available. Yes. I have done a lot of inner child work this year, and all she needs to know is that she's safe to fly. Like, how, like, and I feel like that's why I like doing these exercises of just giving yourself full permission to dream and vision. And then we see what's in the way. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But that is just such a gorgeous, gorgeous reflection. Thanks for sharing that, Keisha. Anybody else? What are you noticing? Good or bad? Or I don't even like to label things good or bad. What are you noticing? Yeah, Morley.
For me, it's less about like the actions or the work, but more just like how I want to feel as I'm
I
doing.
love it.
Like when I'm with the kids, I want to be present and connected. When I'm at work, I want it to not be like stress and crazy, but more like flow and like strategic. So it's more just like the intention rather than the actual like tasks or actions.
That was the same for me. I noticed how often I used the word ease in while I was journaling.
Mhm.
Like I want to feel ease around this. I want to feel ease around that. And yeah, I was feeling the same way. Like I'm focused on how I want to feel.
That's beautiful. A lot of intention setting here, which I think is, I was taught, we all were taught to have like hard and fast, goals, and then what are the steps to get there and just go. little bit like the 20-year-old Pam, like here we are, like this is how we do it. And what I've learned from just the unpacking I do with clients is that we were taught to disregard our own well-being to do those things. It was all about the doing and not about the being and understanding how to integrate that. And how gorgeous that so simply with giving ourselves some space today, with all of the experience that we all have under our belts, we're not 20-year-olds, and that we can now really live with that intention and presence. And that I've learned creates, it actually creates more in my business than the other. It's fascinating
Yeah,
to
I
me.
want to piggyback on that, Diana, because my list doesn't look all that different than it used to because I'm frequently like this is how I want to feel, this is how I want it to, more in the emotion and the ease and all of
Yeah.
that. Um, so I've been doing that for years, but it always felt somewhat disconnected from what's actually happening. And
Mm,
now those are so much closer, and this is taking it to a different level of, okay, nothing's wrong or misplaced, but there's a different approach to it. There's a different way to inhabit it. And this list just kind of stretches it into a place that feels more aligned and better, and so that I am at ease, and the situations are more aligned to what how I want to be feeling.
yeah. Yeah. Anybody else?
Hi.
Oh. Hi, Fatima. Go ahead.
My name is Fatima. I am a medical esthetician and wellness consultant. What I seen from my list are things that I want for myself that I create for my clients. So, but it actually helped me see like I created these things for my clients because there were things I didn't have access to. So I think it's more so about like, taking the time, it's harder when you make your passion, you turn it into a business. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, that saying like the cobbler's children have no shoes. It's like you have to do it for yourself too. So yeah, I guess I just need to take more time and do the things for myself that I recommend to my clients.
Yeah, when it passes through us, that is what can cause the burnout. Like when we do things for others before we're fully doing those things for ourselves. And that I feel like that's the disconnect that we've all been invited to in the hustle and the culture and the fast and the like you must work the 50 hours to do that. And there's certain jobs and situations that require that, but it disregards your own well-being first. And so it's teeing you up for burnout or that disconnection. Is that reflect what you're experiencing?
Yes, that is you get disconnected with your own journey while you're
Yeah.
curating it for someone else. And then,
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing it and you're doing the work and you're spending the money on yourself, you're actually putting it back into your business.
Oh yeah.
So it's like just finding a way to kind of figure that out. But yes, I do identify
Yeah.
with that. Thank you.
Yeah. The I love the themes here. Is anyone else would like to be witnessed or share what came up for them?
I find that I've had a theme of healing
Oh,
uh,
interesting.
in my list. Very interesting. Yeah, it is interesting to have written it all down. Um, so, every year I do a theme for the year, and my theme this year is that I'm already doing it. Doing it. So I don't have this big list of things that I want other than to continue with what's going well. But there's some relationships in my family structure that need some healing. I wrote about the healing of this nation, the healing in the world. Like, I'm surprised that I wrote healing so many times.
Yeah,
um,
it's calling
that I
you.
want just things to be well,
Yeah.
from the smallest family relationships to, globally. And so that seems to be a theme for what I'd like to see this time next year.
Thank you for offering that. That feels like a collective kind of call. Yeah. It's always more than just us, but when we feel like we can be a leader in that, I really resonate with that this year. What are ways that I can have an impact as a coach that is broader, it's community, it's bigger. Um, Very cool. But it always starts at home. That's what's so wild. It always starts at home. Because when we can have those hard conversations or manage through those, the healing in our nuclear situation, then we are really equipped to have those conversations with others that we might not know as well. Anything else come up that you'd love to share or have questions on before I move on?
I was gonna say just more self-care. I've been doing that for years, but I now like kind of take off on my own. And I'm sorry, that's my dog barking.
It's all right. We
uh,
fine.
and anytime he sees anybody. So I think the last time we were together at the a breakfast place, I was leaving to go out of town then that afternoon. So I'm going to do more of that, even if my husband can't come, because I just need my company's in growth mode and I'm doing more. And I'm fine with that. So adding people, teams, looking at operations, all kinds of stuff. So my
Yeah.
year is a little different, maybe from what y'all are all talking about. But
Yeah.
I'm already almost 60, and if I don't do it now, I won't be doing it. So the goal
I
is
love
to sell
it.
the company.
Yeah, I started my business 10 years ago at the age of 55. And when I thought about that, I was like, I have got to be kidding. But I am not stopping either. I'm going to work for the next 10 years. I like just intend on
Yeah, and I'm
keep
adding a
going.
program and, thinking about that a lot. That's on my mind. So,
Yeah.
and how to approach that and if I need more coaching around that or not. So, a lot of thoughts, meeting an operations person tomorrow. So, a little scary, but
Yeah.
excited about it
So we
too.
can talk about that next. And what I want to leap to, Helen, you leapt to one of my last questions for anybody that needs to pop off during the call. Helen already has identified how can I support my growth? Like when we look at expansion, we have to be really careful of not judging what we're going to need to give ourselves to be able to have that new capacity. So she's already seeing whether her husband's able to join her or not, that sometimes away are going to support like the busyness and the newness and the expansion. So I invite you as you're thinking, like, what will I need to support? Like you think of what Anita shared, like her own emotional regulation so that she can be in healing conversations and go deeper with people. Like, what will Pam need to, what will you do to support yourself, to give yourself permission to be more intentional and explore everything that you want to do this year? And it can be just acknowledging that every Saturday morning you're going to take time away to be with yourself. Like this does not have to be a retreat every month. I'm empty nested. I'm divorced. I live by myself. I have the capacity of so much time. But if you don't, carving it out in such small bites can be so powerful. So as we're going more through this planning and getting real about what we're going to really take action on this year, always be thinking, what might I need to support that? Because that is the giving ourselves full permission to do the big thing and the expansion is realizing that it might be hard and difficult. And what will my nervous system need? What will my brain need? Do I need to have a more flexible work schedule? Do I need to be with more people and break things up? Do I need, what each of us is wired differently, and each year brings its own unique offerings. All right. So
And
thanks, Helen, for jumping to the end. We're done. We've got more.
Diana,
Any
can I
other?
offer another thought on that as
Yes,
well?
please, Arlia. Yes.
Because I've really learned this in the last several months. I took on a project that it wasn't all that time consuming, but it did take a chunk of my time. And as much as I loved it, it was exhausting. And what I learned from that was not to self-doubt. Like it's not like the project itself was not what I wanted. It was that it required so much of me that the rest of my life suffered. And I guess what I learned is not to doubt myself because other people can do it, right? And to remember that what the requirements of my nervous system are, how much
Yes.
time I require, how much space I require, so that if I choose to do that in the future, I know exactly where my boundaries are. And I had good boundaries, but they weren't quite small enough to really actually protect my nervous system.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
a really big piece of learning is that, you know, I kind of knew going in, what was necessary for me, and I let that slide a little bit. And so that's,
Ah, yeah. So you didn't honor, yeah, like, ooh, I had a hunch that I might need a tighter
yeah,
boundary. And
right.
oh, I learned that I really do.
Like
Yeah.
that's not negotiable. That particular
Yeah.
piece. Otherwise, everything else in my life, I just didn't have what I wanted to have for the rest of
Yeah.
my life. So,
I am a massive extrovert. When I first started my business, I was networking. I was working 10 to 11-hour days because before COVID, you think about 10 years ago, I could breakfast network, lunch network, evening network. I coached in between and I went all in. And I could handle that, but I know I wasn't the same person at 8:30 with someone across the dinner table and being present. So I was starting to understand my energy. But I've got to tell you, friends, this extrovert, I know I'm extrovert energetically, like when I'm in a more intimate group setting, but I can no longer be in a big noisy room unless I have a quiet corner where I'm able to talk to people. It actually, I know that in my healing in the last 2.5 years, for those of you who don't know my story, I left a 40-year marriage. And so the healing that was required in that was actually softening my heart. I no longer have it covered. Well, guess what? My sensitivity is very different in large groups now. And like Arlia, I like tested that theory and I'll re-sign up for things and it takes me 2 hours to recover. It wasn't worth it. There's not a conversation that I had that out, but unless I've had my coach recommend, she said, I sign up for things and I stay in the lobby the whole time, like where the coffee is. She goes, there's this big room, and if a certain speaker attracts me, I will, but I want to be in the room with those people. She goes, I just stay in the out room and talk to the people that need to calm, like that's how I work. She goes, do you know what? It works. And I'm like, huh. So honoring these hunches about what I'm going to need to actually travel more to be able to expand. I'm going to need to have white space time, 15 minutes every morning. But also, I'm going to have 2 hours by myself, no children, no nothing, no husband to do more planning and intuitive work. Like, what is it? Like, really thinking as we go through the rest of this session, what are things that you can put in place that are ideas now? Test it like Arlia did. I'm testing like the group stuff. How do I manage that when there's rooms I want to be in? Like, what are you going to need this year to really grow? Um, I love Anita's share. It's so good to know how we naturally are in a group setting and just honoring it, like not judging that we should be one way or another. I'm a situational extrovert, so I can make it work in a group, but boy, do I need my alone time. And honoring that, knowing what your rhythm, I talk about this a lot when I work with clients, I used to do like kind of stress, like with type A people, I do these stress series and coaching. And they always were afraid to work with me because they thought I was just going to tell them to take a lot of time off. I knew better. I knew that that was not what they were going to do. But I knew that if they took moments and they honored like doing thought work and emotional regulation, that they were going to be more present in their lives and that was going to be the rhythm and the energy that they needed. And that's what I want to offer you today. What is the rhythm that you're being invited to create what you really want in your life right now? Any other questions before I move on? We're going to talk about mindset a little bit. Are we good? All right, let me see if I've lined this up right. Okay, I haven't been out of the mode of workshops and mindset work. All right, more emotional regulation work. All right. My first and favorite tool, and really this is a space where I work very much so at the beginning of series with my clients, is understanding our own thought process and what it's creating. So I'm going to describe it globally. I will do a little bit of practice with you. But this is something that I integrate into my work where we can have circumstances getting us off track. I'll explain a little more later. And then we can see that's like what's happening in our thoughts and our emotional space is creating an unintended result. And you can also use this to put something in the result line, like when I'm looking at expanding, and we were talking about this a lot today. And so this reverse way of looking at it will be the second way I teach this today, is with the intentions that you have, the results you want here. Then we go backwards. What are you going to need to be thinking on purpose? So this tool is used as awareness without judgment. Like if you know you're really worried and in fear, there's no judgment. Be curious, what is causing that? So this is an awareness tool. And then it's also an intentional tool of putting ourselves intentionally in a mindset space, but also emotional space, embodying what we really want so that the results look like what you intend. There's not this gap. Like I'm doing all these things. Those 12-hour days created business for me, but it was not the result I wanted until I slowed down and honored and got more present. I was skipping over all the things that were happening for me. And until I slowed down and had slower conversations with people at networking, and I slowed down in the way I honored the way I like to do work, which was doing workshops like this, and just doubled down on that, then I created the big goals I had at the beginning of my coaching practice. And honoring what is really going on in your mind is the first step. So the thought model is this. There are circumstances in our lives that trigger thought. But circumstances are facts. Like I was yelled at yesterday. The thought would be that person hates me. That's a thought. That's not a truth. You don't know what they actually think about you. They just yelled at you. That was the fact that someone yelled at you. That person hates me creates a feeling. So that could be disappointment, angst. Oh, sometimes words aren't even needed, right? And so that feeling creates an action. Like think about that type of emotion when someone yells at you would make you so it's inaction. I put action and inaction is caused by our feeling state. And the culmination, if you spend 80% of your time shrunken back, your results are not going to look like what you might intend. Does that make sense? Like when someone yells at you and you have decided to stand up to them, if you continue to think that they hate you and you shrink back and pull away, you're not going to be able to have a conversation with them or stand up. But if that same person yells at you and you think, I want to have a conversation, just that simply, and slow them down, that you would feel calm because of your own reaction to this. And then you could take action of speaking up instead of inaction. So the important thing to remember as you're learning about, and many of us have been exposed to this type of work from therapy, from other mindset things, but what I think has been robbed, and we're getting more awareness in our industry of coaching, is that you can think and believe anything you want and create those results. Yes, but there's so much human element also to it. There's so much subconscious patterning around money, around other things. Creating a positive mindset, to me, is much more about awareness of what is here and what our intentions are than flipping ourselves to positive mantras all the time. Because that does not honor our real lived experience about what's really going on. And some of this thinking can be very subconscious. Like, think about money and the way that we were taught about money in our family of origin, where we are culturally, what our experiences were as we grew up. And we may not understand. I was able, as I grew as a coach, I was thinking that, I was thinking in ways I wanted to create my first six-figure year. But guess what was at play? I saw men making money, not women. I saw the way I paid myself. Like, I thought I got to pay myself in gifts instead of taking an income. There was these subtle ways I was looking at what was going on. And they were very subconscious. But the more I was coached and I was able to just be really aware, it's like, why am I like buying a purse as part of my income because I signed a new client instead of just putting that in my bank account and then deciding how I want to spend it? Why am I not taking a paycheck? So I leaned into profit first, and it like that just started. It was like, oh, now I'm a real business owner, even if it was just a percentage, as an early owner, a small amount. So what I'd love for you to do is, if anyone would like to share, this is the space where we get really aware of what is the obstacle right now. What came up as any thought or any feeling that came up while you were doing your goals? What are the obstacles? What's getting in the way? What seems impossible? And if anybody would like to share.
What's impossible is, you got to put money. First of all, I taught this when I was a sixth grade teacher many times. What's the definition of an entrepreneur? Is a person who takes a risk to form a business. I said, what's at risk? And they said money and time, because I taught it to them. I said, it really is money and time. I mean, there is nothing else, because in order to grow a business, you must have money to do it. And that's I think the scary part about it, like adding people, adding more qualitative people. The people that brought you to this point in your business is not the same people that are going to bring you to this point in your business. That means I need more money to pay a qualitative person to take that load off of me, because I shouldn't have to tell a 34-year-old, did you not think that when we said pre-Friday, Black Friday sells, that didn't need to be changed as the Friday was approaching, and then it exceeded it and went to Cyber Monday. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I want somebody to be like me.
All right. So I want to honor this. And the circumstances that you are choosing to grow. That is a fact. You are choosing to expand and grow. But I heard some other sneaky thoughts in there. So I want to start with the feeling here, because I don't think we've illuminated the thought that is creating the fear. So I want all of us to just use the CTFAR on your own piece of paper. And if anything is coming up for you as the feeling and emotions, that you can run your own model. And then we'll try to I will answer questions and be here for everyone, but using one good example can help coach you also. So, Helen, I heard fear. What are you afraid of around the money?
Losing it.
So I'll
Having to
lose
put it
money.
out there ahead of obtaining it, of course. But then
I'll lose
I
money
look at the fact
and
how
not create more or not succeed, or what's the story here? I'll lose money and what will happen?
Maybe not succeed.
Yeah.
And I get it back quick enough.
Okay.
And I think the other fear is around what's happening in our society today.
Yeah. So the collective
the big unknown.
Yeah. So I will tell you something. I did a lot of coaching during COVID. I did a lot of free series that I just blew up my heart, because so many people had time to come and join me at my workshops. And every day of our life is full of uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
It serves us well to understand there is always uncertainty. It does, but when we are faced with things that are real, war, the election, the COVID, any of those things, there is a collective rise in like being really aware of how uncertain things are.
Mm-hmm.
But tomorrow we know, and I'm not going to be drama like negative, but tomorrow we know we could sign our biggest client without really realizing it, and someone steps in our life and we can have the best thing happen, but we also can have a hard thing happen. But our brain loves certainty. Our brain thinks that that is the safe place, but nothing can create certainty in our world and our lives. Nothing. It is a mental space that is elusive,
Mm-hmm.
but the brain hungers for it. And that's why mindset awareness is so key. It's not wrong for you to think that it's making you feel uncertain about, the world. But if you're making decisions on it around your business, that's not serving your gorgeous desire for growth and more impact.
Mm-hmm.
But being aware of it at the same time, and I'd rather deal with a more personal way that this is affecting you. I'll lose money and not get back quick enough. So that's raising this fear. When you're in more that fear state, what type of actions do you take or do you not take? What happens to you in terms of the action line when you're in fear around your business?
I mean, I guess it probably slows down actually taking action.
Yeah,
But then I snap out of it fairly quickly because I'm aware of it.
right.
Speaking of
And
awareness.
that's the gorgeous, you can be aware of this and let it ride along. And then you actually have another thought that creates action. It's like, oh, I'm going to do something about this.
Right.
I am going to invest. But when we fully honor this subconscious fear and notice how it feels in our body, where in your body do you feel the fear usually?
Mm, I'd say stomach area or yeah,
Yeah.
heart or something like that, I'd say.
And noticing how it feels physically can help us be aware that we're in this thought before we even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're about to hire someone, when you're about to make a decision, when you're starting your day, if we're in here, we know that's going to slow down and procrastinate some of the things maybe that you'd like to do or not provide. This also robs us of clarity. Like when we're in fear, we're not in our best mind. But being aware of it can help it to have less impact in moving forward. So I'll lose money and not get it back quick enough. That creates fear, slows down some of I'll say the decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And when, like, say 80% of your life is slowing down your decisions, what kind of impact do you have in terms of the R line, what I call the R line, the result line?
Not very good,
Yeah,
probably.
not as much growth, but not as
So
much
you're
growth.
damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Absolutely. And this is our mind. But I
They
want
might
to
as well
show you
go for it,
something.
right?
Our mind loves to be right.
Mhm.
I'll lose money and I won't get it back quick enough. So you slows you down. You slow down these decisions, not as much growth. And literally it may be like you may be losing money because you're not moving forward, putting it where it's needed. And this fear that it's not going to be fast enough is almost putting you in a no-win situation. Because it's like we'll invest in a VA, say, and it doesn't go quick enough. Like we need this to be, well, I'll tell every business owner if you hire someone, it will take more time, but not forever. And if you don't take the more time now, you will not get the freedom and the moving later. But all I want here, because it's not a one-on-one session, and it's also, can we be aware of the feeling state that is blocking our action that we really do want to take?
Mhm. Oh, this
Honor
one.
it. It comes from a place and seeing like, I'll lose money, I won't get it back quick enough. And it's like, oh, what time frames is my brain offering me that I should get it back? Is that realistic? Like then we can get curious and question it. There's nothing wrong with this thought. This is trying to protect you from losing money. But when we go intentionally in growth and we know we want to make more of an impact, I think about the way that tutoring is making an impact. You think collectively how it's making an impact in communities. You're helping leaders that have learning issues and are struggling in the community, and they're going to be our future leaders. So if you can tie it even to the fear and uncertainty in our world and know that every one of us on the ground is making a difference, that can be really, and that's just getting onto our minds and not letting fear run the show.
Mhm.
Any thoughts or questions here about what I've shared as a tool?
This hit me right in the gut.
Hey, babe.
Because thank you, Helen, for sharing all of that. Because I'm in growth mode too with my company, and I did the thought model and all my things with regard to growth. And I hadn't thought about it in this way. I don't know why, because I know Diana and her thought model. But it did bring up something, in addition to me being ready and having set up processes and a great team, um, I do have a fear of losing control of the quality
Yeah. So,
output, right? Like the books that
yeah,
we produce have to be really, really good.
yeah,
And so I'm afraid, even though I trust my team, I'm just afraid of not only losing the control of the end result, but also the personal connection with my clients. Like people
ah,
come to me because of me, right? In the beginning, I'm training my clients to embrace my team members. We have
yeah,
other editors on our team, like all of these things, other coaches. And so it's not the Anita show anymore. It's Write Your Life, right? The whole thing.
yeah,
And so I feel it in my shoulders. So I totally feel the tension
yeah,
physically in my neck and shoulders. Like if you could hear this right now,
yeah.
like it's all the cracks. Oh my God.
Thank
And
you for being
then
vulnerable.
mentally,
Yes, we're
the
all there.
mind,
Yeah,
the whole monkey mind thing. I'm constantly thinking
yeah,
and solving and all of the things. And to the point that I really had like a breakdown about a week and a half ago. Of just it felt like my head was about to.
yeah.
I was in the shower and it felt like I could feel steam, like I had a headache, and I felt this pressure, and I just got out of the shower and I just cried, and I told my Michael, I was like, I need some time alone,
Yeah,
like, and it came out probably in the nicest way. I'm like, I'm sick of everybody. I'm sick
yeah.
of you. Sick of my mom.
Everybody, leave me
Like,
alone.
leave. And he
Yeah.
happens to be gone right now, which is great. He
Oh,
respected that, and just I needed the space. I could feel that it was going down a not so good
yeah,
pathway. Um, yeah. So the result is that I've had too much on my plate, not too much business, but that I've taken control of more than I needed to take on.
yeah,
When I could have just said, "Hey, team, handle it." And I did that to an extent, but I was still like, "Oh, but the client needs
yeah,
me."
yeah.
So that's what it
Yeah. And
looks
when, yeah. So even when you think the thought the client needs me, what energy does that create and what actions come from that? It might be a little graspy, might be, a different energy, or it's adding more to your calendar and, where that wasn't the intention. So we almost like are making decisions against ourselves.
Girl, I'm calendary. I'll put some stuff on my calendar.
Yeah,
I am
exactly.
calendar.
Calendaring. Yeah,
Yes,
Skittles. I have a Skittles calendar. Yes, with all the things.
totally. And I think probably as I talk through this, it is ego. It's thinking that
Yes.
Anita is, and that's not me typically, but it's like I'm the everything when it comes to this. And I don't want to be that. I'm really trying to move away from so
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
meanness, business. But as a founder, it's like I built this thing.
This is an
So
identity shift. I'm working with a woman that is selling her financial advisory firm, and it's all women. And this is the exact thought she came out with yesterday because she's delegating. She's only working 3 days a week. Like everything has been put in place fully to have junior people working with her over the next 2 to 3 years, but she's only working part time. Do you know what bothered her the most? Is the identity shift to like, I don't want my clients to know I'm working part time.
um,
But this is, and it was tied very similarly to this ego of, but they came on because of her. She's been doing this for, I mean, the top key people, high wealth folk are hers. And she's
Hmm.
totally fine. She could step out of this business tomorrow, but she doesn't want her clients to know that she's working part-time and not doing as much.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes, you're in the observation I want to share is that you're in an identity shift from the CEO founder in like with all each and every one of your clients. And now your CEO founder that is not going to be as attached to every step of the process with clients, but what you've created has created this ability that this can be done. But it's remembering that. And it's honoring that there's nothing wrong for your ego to feel attached to. I founded this, I want it to be in that way. When you move from that energy of kind of tightness and deeply breathe through it, it's like this is what I did in a call yesterday with her is like, okay, how do you mitigate your concerns? So she's like already looking at how, like, over communicating with clients about what to do when they need help. And it's already putting in place double, like, oh, we're going to watch double emails that I will have them watch emails on Thursday through like she already could think of these wise, gorgeous ways that she would make sure she was the face. And you can do the same. It can be check-ins every 90, it can be half an hour calls where you do get to engage with the client and get feedback on how things are going. You can do some really true on the ground things to mitigate this, but those really cool ideas will not come from I'm afraid to let go because you'll never fully let go. And so this is this gorgeous growth thing of you replicating processes, replicating your values, making sure that the folks that work with you and do work with your clients are replicating that brand and those values, most of all. Yeah. What else is coming up for you today? Any of you? Or any questions around how I'm talking about this? Is this helpful to take home and go, wait, what's the fact? And what am I thinking? And what's the powerful, gorgeous thing is that Helen and Anita do not have to change their thoughts like that to change the trajectory. Being aware that that's here and allowing it to like come to more to the surface, be more aware of it, gives you agency to choose a different way of doing, not this automatic that the brain is liking to do, the shrink back, the procrastinate, the not take action in the way you want to. But when we're aware of what's at play, we can go, no, no, that's not what my intentions are right now. So if my intentions are to replicate, like Anita, if my intentions are to grow, where is the best place? Helen, for you, I think the question is, where is the best place to invest your resources? And how can you feel really good about that? And have things in place to measure that. It sounds like you're good at that. So, like, have a way to look at it in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and decide when nope, that's not, that I applied that, that's not going to work. Oh, deep dive. Abby, thanks for the share, the happiness trap. Will you explain a little more of how that relates to our conversation today? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, it just talks about it doesn't give the same model, the CTFAR, but it does give kind of a similar model where
Yeah.
you've got like a trigger almost. And that
Yes.
trigger, depending upon your own life experiences, preferences, biases, all of that,
Yes.
manifest as thoughts and feelings. So it talks a little bit about that, but then it also just talks about how today we've got he calls it forward, I think he calls it forward movement.
Mm-hmm.
And then I forget what he calls the other one, but the opposite of forward movement,
Yeah.
it's kind of like pulling away.
Yeah.
And we we typically do one of two behaviors. We either do things that move us towards the goal,
Right.
or we do things that move us away from the goal. So procrastination and other things. And he just talks about how a feeling, it's just a feeling. It for some, that feeling of shame, guilt, anxiety can be crippling, and we don't make progress on our goals because we just find it crippling.
Yes.
Whereas like excitement is also a feeling, but excitement
Right.
we usually find that excitement fuels momentum, but they're both just feelings. And
Right. Right.
yeah,
It neutralizes the whole experience. I was even taught when I was first taught this as a coach, like this in a tighter box. Like if you were not getting the results that you wanted, you weren't thinking correctly. And so instead of giving grace and self-compassion within this experience, it was almost blaming the thinker for not
mm-hmm,
thinking right.
mm-hmm,
And there's so that where what you shared is this texture of there's so trauma and other things that happen to us that can really create debilitating, like not being able to take action. And that's where healing comes in. That's where deeper emotional work, therapy, and deep emotional processing and coaching can be so beneficial. And when it's really understood, what I've learned is when I'm self-compassionate about my crappy thinking, when I just like go, hey, darling, of course you're thinking that the world is going to fall apart if you do this. Of course you do. And that's
yeah,
okay. And love yourself there because what's also there is so much wisdom. I could almost feel the wheels turning, Anita, once we started talking about this, where you're like, oh, what will I put in place so I feel better as I replicate this model? Our wisdom is stunted by the negative, if we want to call them negative thoughts, by retractive kind of thoughts. But we can be in fear and still create gorgeous things.
yeah. He talks about. I think you mentioned some language around identifying the fear, and he talks about that instead of saying like, "I'm feeling anxious," because it almost like
Yeah.
ties us to the anxious. You simply
Like almost
say,
like in an identity. Yeah.
yes, yes. You say, I'm noticing the feeling of anxious. And
Yes.
it gives a little more
Thank you.
space between you and
Yes.
that feeling.
We over identify. I learned this when I was coaching people that were in really high stress. I worked in a public relations firm and helped them. And it was a culture of stress because they really believed as a culture that if they were a high stress, last minute deadlines, that, oh, look at Pam, yes, in marketing, that you would create better. I disagree. But I was the stopgap of helping a lot of those people mitigate in their own rhythm and their own lifestyle. Like, yep, this is how they think at work, but this is not how I'm thinking. We have a lot of more agency, but we over identify like I'm anxious. I'm an anxious person. And when we start distancing that, like this feeling state is something that can be observed. No other being can do that. Our cognitive ability allows us to be a watcher. And that's what I invite you to do here and honor. I have been triggered by a lot of fear this week. I'm making a decision to not join my family for Christmas. Imagine that. And at moments, I am so just feel calm and free, and I know it's the right thing. And I can also wake up at 4 a.m. and be really afraid of losing my loved ones because I did a thing. So, honoring so I'm journaling a lot on what those thoughts are. And it was like, oh, yeah, my whole family's going to leave me if I do this and they'll be mad at me. And can you handle it if they're mad at you? Yeah, I've kind of been doing that anyway. So, like, it's just so fascinating. The brain over identifying with our mental really can get us stuck. But honoring it in this gorgeous self-compassionate way. Of course, darling, you're feeling fear. You've never responded this way in your family of origin. You've never taken care of yourself first. And it's new for everyone, including you. So it's going to take some practice. And I'm doing that in real life. But it doesn't mean those things don't come out, but I'm distanced from the raw feeling being in it. Um, I think I took a picture. Yes. Any other questions on this? Because I want to flip this and show you the way to do this with the intentions you walked in the room with today. Everybody good?
I was going to say what I
Can you
appreciate.
turn it? Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. What do you need?
Yeah, maybe move it. I don't know. Yeah.
There we go. Get the whole thing. And Helen, I'll have a picture since this is yours.
Okay.
That's what I do in
Thank-
coaching. I have an entire reel of all my clients' thought models. Morley, what did you want to say?
That's to say what's interesting. So my circumstances and my thought are different, but my feeling of fear and shame is similar. And then my action, which is the inaction, because it paralyzes me. And so
Yeah.
I don't get my goals done. And as I was writing it out, I have another piece of paper that my mind immediately went to, which is what are the actions I can take to get over this? So I found myself as I was distancing
Yes.
myself, my mind was immediately starting to get unlocked. And I was starting to be like, well,
Yes.
I can reach out to this person. I can at
Yeah.
least do this. I can at least Google this. And I found it like that inaction starting to kind of fade away a little
Loosen.
bit. Mm-hmm.
So what's so powerful about what you just did for yourself is honor the full experience. Sometimes we're afraid. We've been taught. I had a client that when I was teaching her, she was really sad. It was almost she was so afraid of being in depression because she had experienced a season of depression. She was so, and this is what our society is experiencing. That's why there's so much anxiety and depression. We don't know how to look at our thoughts and feelings and feel safe. We're afraid it's going to become a cycle. And but the power is that you gave yourself an opportunity to observe it more neutrally. And there's that gorgeous like wisdom about what can, and that comes from another thought. You don't even have to have access to it. But I believe there's another way you're thinking is like, oh, but I know I can do something. Could be as neutral as that. But it loosened your wisdom and your genius about what can happen because you were with yourself. When we're with ourselves as an observer, we are actually actively being compassionate and graceful towards ourselves. And we can judge. I judge myself for worrying about my business because I thought I had to be positive to make it happen. So I was like, so I would push it, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. When we ignore our emotions, that's why so many people are experiencing anxiety and depression. The ugly twin sisters, as I have a bestie who's a social worker. She goes, yes, they are the ugliest stepsisters. That when we are not giving ourselves an opportunity to really look at our emotional landscape in a way with our own self-compassion, we need a guide. You can need a therapist. You can need a coach. When we start doing that, it loosens up. You literally experienced it. Thank you for sharing that. That's why journaling can be good or even meditation, but allowing everything that's coming through, do a thought download of everything that's there. And then it's like, okay, now what am I going to do with the day? What can I do? Any other thoughts or questions on this side of the model, the awareness? All right. Let's, all right. So we're going to reverse the model, and I want you all to be thinking of a little bit of a concrete result in your life. And it can be as concrete as being present with your family. I mean, it can be that. It can be as specific as, for me, really doing yoga, where if you ask me how many times I did it this week, and I'm not rigid about self-care because of my own history, that I'm in a yoga practice. Like I am actively in a yoga practice. So it looks like I'm on the mat a few times a week. That would be the result I want to create. So, but look at even your bigger goals. I know I would like to be on more stages. And you can do a mini model for each result you want to create and see what is getting in the way. But for this, so you can do awareness around this. But what I'd like to do is reverse model it. And would anybody like to share an example of a result that they'd love to create this year?
I can share.
All right. Thanks, Morley. What result would you love to see?
I need to wind down my current business.
So, is there a specific way that that looks like truly closing it or closing,
Truly closing.
closing it? All right. And some of this will feel trite because we're in a quicker workshop, but if we need more conversation, let me know. We can do that later or at the end. What, as far as you know now, what actions do you need to take? It can be several. What actions would create this result?
So I have a lot of inventory.
Okay, sell.
I've got to figure out how to do what to do with my inventory. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So inventory, what are some other steps that seem to like might feel sticky right now or other things that you might need to decide what actions would culminate in closing your business?
Yeah, I've got to actually, it's an online store and I sell on Amazon. So I've got to get off the platforms.
And so there's several.
Yeah, like the Shopify and the Amazon. And then
Because like being really specific about the actions will help. Like that, what else might need to be done?
I mean the website, the social channels, anywhere that the brand exists.
And if anything, do these all kind of happen simultaneously, or what do you feel like is the first domino that you're going to need to put in place or decide on or create?
Probably the inventory, just
Yeah.
figure
So
out, yeah.
let's stay focused as you do this first model on selling the inventory. How would you have to feel to be ready to sell the inventory or and selling it would be whether it's in a block, whether it's a or you let it go, however that looks for you. What would you like? What feeling would help you to take that action? What would you need to feel in an embodied way to sell the inventory?
Um, I guess like curiosity,
Oh,
a
interesting.
little bit of just like there's so much emotion that I've been avoiding it
Yeah,
because there's shame and there's the feeling of failure, but
right.
kind of like a curiosity, a detachment, like it's just business so that I can reach out to my network and just
Yeah,
get
find a way.
ideas.
Yeah, and there might be some gorgeous when we get at that this is creating shame, and this might be even a self-care routine, like what we were talking about. What support will you need to put in place to move to this point of curiosity? Are there some ways that is it more meditation? Is it having some support? Is it really getting involved with more people that would understand some of the outcomes and having a lot of conversations? But that is creating this curiosity and neutral and noticing when the shame comes up, honor that certain things trigger that and honor, like, of course, of course I'm feeling that. But I've decided to sell my inventory. I've decided, and we're going to do it. And there might be some really fun surprises along the way. That's what curiosity can bring you too. Is like you can end up doing this in a way that oh, I didn't know that was possible. Just like the negative, we don't know can possibly happen. The same gorgeous surprises can happen when we're open to them and taking more action. So, what ways of thinking, it might not be one sentence, what would you need to think and believe a little bit more about this process that could create that state?
This is just the life cycle of the business,
Yeah.
nothing personal.
I want to offer something One thing that I think, and I know you, Morley and I have become friends, so I have context. I wonder if I want to offer an opportunity. I can lead, like because I think when we have a unexpected fail, an unexpected, it kind of makes us feel like we're not that leader anymore. But what would it look like to step into those same shoes that bravely bought this business, have done everything possible morally? And what would it look like to go, I can lead this process? I think that could tap into more of your wisdom here.
Yeah.
You aren't negated because this happened. Your gorgeous leadership and all this genius talent, the things that were starting to flow from you when you were, doing the downloads. So I can lead this process. And this is where we take our power back. Does that even energetically feel different than curiosity?
It does.
What does that feel like? I,
It feels more in control.
yeah, you're taking your power back. We take our power back by remembering that we can believe anything about our circumstances and not in a Pollyanna way, in a really grounded way from our own resources and talents, and which you just did. Yeah, take it back. So closing the business is the circumstance. It's also the result you want to create. I can lead the process of closing my business. What does that look like? So that is the way we do reverse modeling. Yeah, Anita, that it was powerful. I'm glad I was able to see that. Yeah, and it is clearing the way for something you cannot even imagine. I believe that too, Keisha. And when we're in the middle of this, like when I was in the middle of leaving my marriage with a high desire for a really healthy romantic relationship in my life, there is no way I saw what I have now. But I gave myself permission to go for it. And I'm in over a year intimate relationship, romantic relationship that I never would have dreamt was possible. But I did. I did. I was courageous and brave enough to think at the age of 64 I could manage dating and doing all the things. Now, this requires another person, but I know I created this opportunity to meet someone that had the same desires in a relationship. Thanks, Jess. When we're in the messy middle, some of you are in the messy middle of doing something new. Give yourself so much love and compassion, but remember who you are. Remember who you are here. That was gorgeous, Morley. Thank you for
Thank you,
sharing with us.
Diana.
I really appreciate it.
That was awesome.
Yeah. It's from you being able to share that with us. Anybody else? Questions on this?
It sounds like you take so you've got your result, and then you've got, as you're thinking about what actions would satisfy this result, and you come
Yeah.
up with several actions. It sounds like then you take each action and you ask, what feeling would help you take this specific
I
action?
think that is a way you definitely could do it because I do know, like from this example, because Morley was starting to get into her leadership, more insightful energy when she was observing what was going on, the shame and fear. And all of a sudden the ideas were coming. She didn't need to do a lot more thought work to get those ideas. They started flowing. But when you think about really she's taking control of this, and I feel like the steps are going to make sense to her as they come along. But it's also when you think of getting off platforms and it brings up a certain separate emotion, yes, then looking at different ways of thinking. But I have learned by using the model that if we get too detailed and too much in just our cognitive part of this, that we lose the energy of our gorgeous wiring and the true energy of ourselves as a leader and like that full self. And it's uncovering the cognitive that is getting in the way and then leaning into who am I? And I, like my example that I shared, I was a woman that at age 55 started realizing something was really wrong at home and was not able to leave until I was in 64. And I doubled down on what I knew I really wanted in my life. So I was the woman that I knew I was brave enough. I knew what healing I would, being in the coaching community, I was very spoiled. I knew what I would need to walk forward. But I didn't get very specific. I was very open-ended. Of course, I tried dating apps and there's action things that you do, but it's much more of like creating the identity of someone that we start trusting ourselves and our decisions out of a really good energy. Does that make sense, Abby?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just sounded like within there's a lot of action. Okay, I'll be
Yeah,
honest. I was writing my own. I'm like, I know it's more early story also, so I can't use her as an example because I was writing my own.
you
But
should be. Yeah, that's also good
so,
practice when someone's getting coached is just do your own.
so there were a lot of actions that lead to the results. But then when you said you almost like took the one, I think it was the cell inventory. And for me, it was okay, just this one. It's kind of the getting started action.
Yes.
What feeling would I need to to get started?
Yes.
And so that's where the question was like, oh, okay, do we align the feelings to each specific action that then,
But
culminate in
what
the
I know
results?
is going to happen if she's in her leadership energy and focuses on selling inventory with this gorgeous, curious, like, let's see what I need to do next thing, that the rest will kind of take care of itself. And then if there's like, if I'm coaching somebody in a regular fashion, then they take a lot of action here. And then in further sessions, we find, oh, wait, you're stuck again. Hey, what's coming up for you? And then
Yeah.
that's when it's like, oh, let's see. And then like, what's it going to take? What awareness is it going to take to then clear that so that you can get back to the intentional and the really good intentional energy,
Mhm.
the who we are at the core of who we, here as entrepreneurs. Any other questions from the group? This is a really good time to just to land.
I also added, in addition to what feeling will create this action, is I asked myself, what's needed to get to these feelings?
Yeah,
So,
so tell me more about that. I love that. That could
well,
be helpful.
for me, it's about starting a new group. And so I know that I can take the actions when I feel grounded in my wisdom and my confidence, and I have faith in that those results will happen, but also that I remember the calling and the reason I want to do it. So what's needed to get to those feelings for me is emotional support and a coach slash cheerleader slash teacher, somebody who keep help me remember
Mm.
that, just help me stay motivated and focused.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
In
that
addition to the thinking, it's also the outside support that I
absolutely. It's
identify.
like what guide or what influence like that sometimes is I've been doing work on my thought leadership and I really want to be more speaking more from all these patterns I've seen over 10 years. I've been coaching the same thing. And I knew I was coached one-on-one, and then this coach offered this community around it where I could hear others doing the same work. And I knew that I needed that to actually activate. She's gorgeous at helping me. I have 3 more sessions with her, but this offer of a group experience in addition was like, oh, I knew I needed that. And I used to buy every coaching thing. I used to be in the most obvious masterminds that everybody else was in. It was more out of FOMO. Now I really understand what I need to support me getting to this next level. I know the actions, offering to speak and da, but it's much more about the energy I show up with now than it is. And that will come from hearing other stories and seeing where I'm getting stuck and being inspired by them. and having more opportunity to keep working on it in present. So knowing what you need to go forward and looking for that. Like Helen, like for her, it's like knowing she needs some literal support on the ground so she can free herself up to be doing more outside of it. It can be very, in a business sense, it can be a very strategic hire. It can be different support, a different system. Um, and then, emotional support. We need our emotional support animals. So we need our coaches, we need our therapists, we need our colleagues and friends. That's why I love the Lola. I am in a community where I want to have impact, but I also am learning so much. So it's really making sure we're making those decisions that we're supporting ourselves fully. Like I need to find my yogi. That just came to me. So that being in community, Peloton's great, but I need my yogi. I need someone that is my guide in my future of practicing yoga as a way of life. I want to be a walker and a yogi. I can't do it by myself. I've been trying for 3 months. So anything else here? And then we'll close. We'll close with some good things. All right, I'll take pictures of that for you, Morley, and then I'll have follow up that kind of that shares these tools in a way that you can use this as a little workbook. Um, I work with people in one-offs. I have clarity sessions that are one-off sessions, $500. You get me as a coach for 2 weeks with Voxer coaching, and we have a 90-minute session that can couple off of this and give you a very personalized deep dive. I do that whenever you're making a big decision. If you know people that are deciding on career moves, I do that a lot in those situations. But I always offer those in my practice. And if you would love a deep dive, that is an offer I'm making. I have time in my calendar, especially this gap between December and New Year. My clients are kind of off, but new people are making space for like, what am I going to do next year? So if you'd like one of those are being offered right now. I work with people on long-term agreements. And that takes, like, if you feel a draw to looking for the support of a coach, if we're not a fit, I have this gorgeous community. And I work usually long term, 6 month to a year series. Most people work with me for a year. But I also have 6 week powerful sessions for people that budget wise, they just cannot dive into the regular work. And those are powerful. We plant calls at very key decision making times. And you have me on Voxer as well, voice text coaching during that season. That's one of my most generous offers. I think a business coach would probably tell me I'm giving too much time. I'm like, I love it. Those are really beneficial in my practice. So I just want to let you know I don't do these so that I create clients. I do these workshops because I learn so much about what's going on for my potential clients. I love giving them. I mean, this community day this has been gorgeous. So I'm learning in my own. I am going to have breakfasts, and some of you met me at biscuits and dinners, and I will be gathering. My theme of my practice is the leaders table, and it will take place in intimate settings and retreats. There'll be offers. You'll be on my list. But I also am going to start doing more VIP days and solo retreats because I have a home that I can do those things in. So lots ahead. Um, as we move forward, some of this we've covered, but I want to give you just 5 minutes to lay down your next steps right now, to really honor in a really quiet way. I think some of those have come for you, but let's give just till 11:45, that's 7 minutes, to lay down what are your next steps. And I'll post these, but one personal, one business, and one out of the box. Something a little like shake it up. So, what are 3 things right now that you could do there? Set as the next steps for you. And I will repost it so you can refer to it. Okay, go. I'm seeing lots of faces, so I'll go ahead and close. Does anybody need more time now? Just a few minutes. Are we good? All right. What are your thoughts from what you wrote down? How are you feeling?
I'm super excited.
Awesome.
Yeah, liberated.
Oh, that's a really good feeling.
I noticed that it just takes a commitment to spend the time to develop the things that I say I want to do
Yeah.
and, and not allocate that time for other people.
Yeah. It's like it's interesting. While we were off, I wanted to make sure I shared this, and it's something that I learned deeply. Fatima brought it up, like the cobbler's shoes. Others in their feedback form shared that, you know, others aren't valuing our business or the work that we do. And it's such a common feeling when we're starting new things or doing even a new offer when you've been really a seasoned owner. When a lot of us talk about integrity. Our integrity comes from us treating ourselves as highly valued as we do all those outside of ourselves. Whether it's clients, family, like my lesson right now in my life is learning to value myself fully, not at the disregard of what my family needs. I had flipped it so deeply that it put me in harm, emotional harm. I was not harmed or physically abused by my husband, ex-husband. Don't you think that? But like the integrity and people feel it. We are a magnet when we speak of the things that we want to do for others when we have integrated it into our own lives. The integrity comes like this when we have future conversations, when we are doing and have integrated what we're asking others to believe in us. It's like creating a self-trust that is unbeatable. And Anita, you touched on it by sharing that. So thank you, and others. Any other thoughts as we close?
I realized a lot of my actions started out being little things that were easy.
Yeah,
And then I started to look at them and said, you need to do some hard work, girlfriend, and do the hard things, the bold
yeah,
moves, the
yeah,
bigger stuff. It's easy to do a lot of small things and check the
yeah,
box and go, oh, yes, I'm making progress.
yeah.
But I'm just making myself feel good. I'm not
Right.
really getting to the actions that are going to drive those successes
The
or those.
bigger things. Yeah. And this is how we've been taught. Like, and a lot of times, I don't know about you, I had a sales job way back in, gosh, 80 something. And I was given I was not given any training or anything. I was given a phone and a list at Gallup too. And God, you got to know I had the cleanest desk. I had the biggest, like all my forms. I just like, oh my God, I might make 3 phone calls. It was so hard. But I would tick the box with all these busies and to-dos and like all these things. And it's like, ooh, the fear was preventing me from doing the real thing. And so it is like from what all of us have done today is having some awareness of what's getting in our way and honoring that and embodying the belief, like, learning that you have to shed some of those old ways of thinking. But for you, Pam, it's just embodying and giving yourself permission to desire and want what's ahead.
Yeah.
And like when you feel that, like, oh, what would it be like to be over here, either relationship wise or lifestyle wise, whichever is your key thing that then it's like when you're always feeling that way, like it's possible, that's when we are able to take those actions. Gorgeous share. Thank you. Anybody else? One thing I want as you sustain this, watch for the shoulds. The shoulds are not from this deep desire and this embodied place. I should be doing my podcast. I haven't done my podcast since July because I don't know yet what I want that to look like. And until I know, doing that action is just busy work. So that's just an example. So the should awareness, when you feel the shoulds, I should do this, I should be doing this, I should, that is like, oh, this is how someone else might have done something. And you come back to this workshop and what you felt today, and that's where you make decisions from.
That's a big thing for me. I'm so glad you said that.
Thank you.
The
Yeah.
should um,
Yeah.
tap into my, feeling of responsibility.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for this, or I'm the one who always does that, or I do this well, so I might as well, I should go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Um, and that really touches on one of my next steps things, um, which deals with some other people in my life that I know that my personality type is that diplomat, that
Mhm.
peacekeeper. And so I should do that. But that should has put me in the middle of some family relationship drama that I don't want to be in the middle
Yeah.
of. Like I
Bye,
love
Abby.
people,
Have a good one. Yeah.
but I don't have to hear everybody's side of the story, and I don't
Yeah.
have to be sympathetic, and I don't have to offer my insights. I can just let them figure it out.
Yeah. And it's really, it could be as simple as what is mine, what is theirs,
Mm-hmm.
and what's God's. Like I think it's Byron Katie was the first one that integrated that into coaching. And it's like really separating out and going back to your intentions because there's a way to be a peacemaker that doesn't override your needs. And so
And
what
that's
does that look like? So it's just, getting rid of an old pattern of how you did it and deciding I'm not going to do it that way anymore, but I still have the intention.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. Thank you.
My coach, like I have been responsible, I thought as a mom and in a very set of high anxiety boys and my boys club, my two sons and my ex, I always thought it was my job to just keep it all together, to create the most, like all of it. And you got to know that this is hard for me to say I am not coming to Christmas. And that's bringing up all the old ways of doing it. And then my coach gently said, Diana, all the entanglements you're feeling that are like kind of the shoulds are the same avenues that you can still love them. And I was like, oh, because you start feeling like in that story that that won't be loving, but it's the opposite. When we get rid of structure that is getting in the way of our well being or our calmness, grounded wisdom. And so now I can let my family have all the feelings and judgments because I'm doing my work and I'm loving myself through this week. And I know I'm freer to love on especially my son, who's the host of whatever, and just say, I'm going to do it a different way.
Diana, what you're speaking to is you and Anita is so key. It's like I don't have to sacrifice how I identify myself in this as
Yes.
either a loving mom or a responsible business owner or a diplomat, as Anita was talking about. I can separate that from the shoulds. That
Yes.
doesn't mean I am no longer a peacemaker. It's like I will do so in a
Yes.
way that is the most loving choice for me. And that's some really fine parsing, but it's so powerful. Really helpful.
Yeah. So this is a space where we don't let the brain run the show or the ego or the identity, but we honor its expression so that we can let go of what is not serving us and dive into Like Morley, you're the perfect example, the leader who, and all of us are this, the leaders we really are. The leaders, I was like, why do I have to go first? Why do I have to be the heart? Like, it's like, you don't have to go first. You just have to take care of yourself in the way that you know is right now. Thank you. It has been an honor. This was gorgeous. You all brought your full selves to the workshop. I look forward to more pancakes, biscuits, dinners around the table, working with me if you feel so called. I am just on cloud nine about the type of people that are in my community. So I will have a follow up so that you know where how to be in touch and any parting comments, anything undone, unsaid.
Just thanks for creating the space and the time and not like rushing it and making it
Yeah.
45.
2 hours is a lot to ask. I was thinking it would end up at 90, and I even cut one section out that wasn't necessary. And I'm like, nope, it's a 2 hour thing. So we can
Yeah, it is a
slow
2 hour thing. Thanks.
down.
Thank
So
you.
I'll be doing it again in January. So, and with a little twist to it. You're welcome, Fatima. And thank you all for being here. Really appreciate you all. My best
Thank
to
you.
you. Keep me posted.
Thanks, Diana.
You're welcome. Feel better, Morley.
Thank you.